And that question that I hear over and over again by my patients and course members with autoimmunity is, why is this happening to me? Welcome to this episode of the Biology of Trauma podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Aimie. This episode, it hits incredibly close to home for me. I'll never forget staring at that lab report in my rheumatologist's office, seeing that antibody titers numbers 840 to 1 and feeling discouraged, depleted, lost. I knew it was a sign my body was holding trauma. I didn't understand why, how, or where exactly to go from there, other than, I guess it's time for me to go to therapy. Through my own process, training, and now work with thousands of patients and course members, the profile for autoimmunity has become more and more clear. With some exceptions, autoimmunity targets high-functioning women, the perfectionists, the people pleasers, the pusher-throughers. To be more specific, those who've learned to disconnect from their bodies because it doesn't feel safe to be their authentic selves and to rest. Autoimmunity is a biology of trauma that's been building for decades. I received this question from Laura in California. She said, Dr. Aimie, I've tried diets, supplements, everything for my autoimmune condition, but I'm still pushing through every day, pushing through life. Everything feels hard. Life feels hard. And most recently, I noticed that my autoimmunity was flared up by an encounter with my family where I tried to be and say my authentic truth. Laura, your question captures exactly what is essential for those with or those who help those with autoimmunity to know. In this episode, you will learn why autoimmunity creates this painful tension between safety and authenticity, how your nervous system dysregulation perpetuates a vicious cycle with your symptoms, and most importantly, the 3 levels of repair needed to reverse autoimmunity, reverse the emotional patterns behind autoimmunity, and the biology of trauma behind autoimmunity so that you can reclaim both your emotional and physical freedom. Let's get started. I still remember the moment that I sat in that office of the rheumatologist and he showed me the piece of paper and the numbers were staring at me. My antibodies, the titers were showing 1 in 840. How could this be? How could this be my numbers? Staring at that piece of paper. Do you remember when you discovered autoimmunity? Autoimmunity is one of the most common chronic health conditions. And it's not surprising to me that it targets a certain type of individual. It's the people without boundaries, people who are perfectionists, people pleasers, those who hold it all inside, those who turn their anger towards others, inward, towards themselves. And this is all true. But there is one other aspect that I have seen across the board now for the type of person that autoimmunity seems to be attracted to. I have been shocked as I've traveled over the last year to see this more and more happening. Autoimmunity seems to be attracted to those women who are high functioning. Now, is this across the board without any exceptions? No, this is not true because autoimmunity can happen in men. But does it happen more in women or more in men? It seems to target women more than men. The studies show us that. And so what we are here to learn is truly this path to emotional and physical freedom, because that's what we need when we have developed autoimmunity, or if someone that we work with has developed autoimmunity. We need both the physical freedom, because it is in our biology now, but we also need the emotional freedom to fully reverse autoimmunity. Reverse. Yeah, what does reverse autoimmunity even mean? Reverse for me means symptom-free and labs are normal. When I was staring at that sheet of paper with my own labs staring back at me, I was not the physician in that moment. I was the patient in that moment. And so as I'm looking at those numbers, the internal commitment that I made was to figure it out. How do I get those numbers back to normal range, back to healthy? Because I want a different future than what those numbers are telling me that I will have. I didn't know how to do it. I will be very honest with you. I got lost. I felt alone. I wished that I had a roadmap. I did not. In fact, I was being told what I'm sure many of you have been told, where there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do to prevent it. There's nothing you can do to reverse it. Because this is so often the message that it's still being said. It's even being said that it's genetic, which reinforces the idea that there's nothing that you can do if it is genetic, except take your medication that you'll be on for the rest of your life and forget about all of this other stuff. I mean, if you want, you can eat healthy, but if it's genetic, that won't make a difference. Just take the medication that they prescribe you. This is autoimmunity, and yet many with autoimmune conditions also have another condition, another physical health symptom that doesn't always have a diagnosis, and that often can have the message, well, that just is in your head, because we don't see any evidence on labs that something is wrong. We're not seeing anything in our studies. And so that symptom, whether it's pain, fatigue, digestive issues, that is just in your head. You are a sensitive person. Yep, I've gotten that message too. You don't have any of the really serious diseases. Isn't that interesting? And yet, let me pause right here, because this is something that feeds the autoimmunity. What do I mean by that? That message suggests something very serious. That message suggests that there's something wrong with you. You're just a sensitive person. You're too sensitive. It's all in your head. You're making it up. You just want attention. And is that not the core of autoimmunity? There's something wrong with me. There's something inherently wrong with me. I am the problem. I am not good enough. I am not wanted. I am not lovable. There's something wrong with me that makes me that way. These are the kinds of things we get to explore as we look at autoimmunity, because there is a deeper emotional root that has created a biology of trauma. And now, my friend, what has happened is that biology that those emotional roots have created a feedback cycle. And that feedback cycle perpetuates your sense of not enough. That biology creates a sense of depletion by depleting your energy and your ATP. Those times that you shame yourself are times that your body goes into this biology that perpetuates autoimmunity. I want to show you what this biology of trauma framework really says. And it's quite simple, because it really starts with the nervous system. And it says the nervous system dysregulation is going to create changes in your biology that center around, but are not limited to, the increase in oxidative stress. That oxidative stress goes on to do all kinds of things, activating your microglia, which are immune cells in your brain that cause brain fog. Anybody here struggle with brain fog? Probably not. You've probably never had brain fog, never had decision fatigue. Your mind is always clear and focused. So when you have those symptoms, you can know that, oh, I've got nervous system dysregulation and it's fed into my activated microglia. But let's look at the mitochondrial dysfunction. Mitochondria is what your body has to make energy. It's the factory houses that actually make it. And oxidative stress damages your mitochondria. This leads to fatigue. Now, I'm sure no one here has ever felt fatigued. I'm sure that is a symptom that you have never experienced yourself. But if you were to know of someone who has had fatigue, not the diagnosis, but just the symptom, it's because of this. The nervous system dysregulation leads to the oxidative stress, leads to the dysfunction of the mitochondria. Your body is literally making less energy. That's why you have less energy. But it's not just that. We also look at protein and DNA damage. And this is where autoimmunity is often an epigenetic condition. What does that mean? It means that it's triggered by something that happens in our life. The first story that I share in my book is of Elena. And I take you to the car accident that she was in. She was not able to avoid the oncoming car. It collided with her. She was in this car accident. And a year later, she gets diagnosed with lupus, an autoimmune condition. I'll ask you, was that random? Was her diagnosis of autoimmunity 1 year after a car accident random? That was just the trigger. It started long before that with her biology of trauma. Because this is what happens now. Once we have the biology of trauma, then it creates the feedback cycle. It's not fair. I wish it weren't so, but this is how it works. We have these changes in our biology at the cellular and DNA level, and the result is that it creates a feedback loop. Meaning that same biology, the microglia, the mitochondria, the proteins, the DNA changes, the oxidative stress is now causing nervous system dysregulation. This has been a lot. Let's briefly review what we've covered. We've covered how stress damages your body at the cellular level, why autoimmunity often affects high-functioning women, and how your damaged cells send danger signals that keep your nervous system on high alert. What's coming up next? Why you feel trapped when the danger signals are coming from inside your own body, and how disconnecting from your body became your way of coping, even often starting in childhood. The biology is creating and causing and perpetuating nervous system dysregulation, which leads me to a question for you. How many here have noticed that when your autoimmune symptoms are worse, your emotional regulation is worse? When your symptoms flare up, your emotions flare up. Has there been any correlation? This is why. It's just the science of how the body works. You cannot separate emotional regulation from nervous system dysregulation. And you cannot separate nervous system dysregulation from these biology changes because they are what create signals of danger for our nervous system. Let's think about this for a moment. Signals of danger. What if we were to walk outside right now and there was a dog that was running towards us? It did not look friendly. Would that be a danger signal for your nervous system? Yes or no? A dog is running towards me. It doesn't look friendly. Is this a signal of danger? Yes. What if inside of us there is this signal of danger? It's not outside of us. I can't run back inside my house and close the door and lock the door. I can't run away from myself. I can't run away from myself. And this is going to be true whether we're talking about the oxidative stress and the mitochondrial damage that it has created, or the fact that I don't like myself. I'd like to be able to run away from myself. So where do we go? Where do we go when we want to run away from ourselves? It's actually not a trick question. It's not a trick question. Where do we go when we want to run away from ourselves? I want to tell you the story of Carinza. Carinza came and she was coming through my program, the 21-day journey, and then doing the all parts of me. And she's learning these skills to create inner safety. But here is what she discovered. She discovered that she had a young part of herself that didn't like herself. She discovered that she wanted to run away from herself, that she had actually wanted to do this for a very long time, ever since her childhood. And so what she discovered was that how she ran away from herself was to disconnect from her body. And this happened very young for her. So my question for you is, at what age did you have a part that didn't want to be inside of here, inside of this body? At what age did you decide to start disconnecting from your body? For some of you, it will be at birth. Some of you, possibly before birth, in utero. This is when you would have started to have a biology of trauma. Your biology of trauma did not start when you got the diagnosis of autoimmunity, or if you're a practitioner, autoimmunity did not start when they got diagnosed. It started as a biology of trauma that built and built and built and accumulated and accumulated and accumulated until finally there was an epigenetic trigger, or our term allostatic load. It didn't start overnight. It didn't happen overnight. How long does it actually take for a person to develop autoimmunity? For most people, the answer is decades. There are exceptions, just like there are exceptions that autoimmunity is not only in women, but just predominantly in women. It's predominantly taking decades for autoimmunity to develop. And this is why I say that the immune system, more than any other system in our whole body, the immune system is the system that is a window into our life, our whole life. And if the immune system is the window into our life, what would your immune system say about your life? Would it say that, oh, it's been a life of safety and connection and vitality and purpose and energy? Oh, life has just been good to me. Or would your immune system have something else to say about your life? Just earlier today, I was recording with a podcast show. They're going to be releasing it later about my book. And this idea that they asked me was, are there specific types of phrases that you hear people with autoimmunity say? And my answer was yes, in fact. It's even more of a question. There are autoimmune questions. And that question that I hear over and over again by my patients and course members with autoimmunity is, Why is this happening to me? Life has been hard. Life has felt hard. It feels hard. Why is this happening to me? Does anyone relate to that question? Has anyone had that thought in their brain of, why me? Why is this happening to me? And whether it's the autoimmunity, it's not often the autoimmunity that we're asking about, though sometimes it is. That's often what we ask when we first find and discover it. But it's why. Why was I born into a family where my parents were fighting all the time? Why did this happen to me? Why did I get into a relationship where they were hurting me, betraying me? Whatever it is, it's the why questions. And the reason is because that autoimmunity makes a person feel like they're pushing through everything. Everything feels hard. And so when the next thing happens, it's not a fresh new thing. It's built on top of everything else that already feels hard. Life feels like an uphill battle. And so I go into every new experience feeling depleted, not feeling ready for a new problem, a new challenge. It feels hard. I don't want this new stress, this new change, this loss, this grief. I wasn't ready for it. It feels hard. And this can change. And this is part of the healing journey, is being able to see our thought patterns shift with time. Let's pause and see what we've covered. We've just talked about how autoimmunity takes decades to develop. And we've talked about why people with autoimmunity always seem to ask, why is this happening to me? Next up is why creating safety is the foundation of healing. And it's more complex than just changing your mindset and thinking positively. And the real reason it doesn't feel safe to be yourself, and what keeps us stuck in this body trauma loop. As we look at what do we do? What do we do with all of this? Now that we understand that autoimmunity is something that's affected our thoughts, it's affected our emotions, it's affected our body's memory of the past, and that our body is literally packing the past with us. And then it's affected our biology, and not just the impact on our biology, but this idea that our biology then creates more danger for our nervous system. So we literally cannot escape it because we cannot run away from ourselves. And I am hoping that you have written down what you've learned so that you can come back to it and go deeper in your healing, because that's what we want. Healing happens in layers. And we want to go to the deeper layers only as we feel safe to do so. The safety. What is this path to emotional and physical freedom? And it starts with creating that safety. Because if I don't create the safety, then my parts will continue to feel that we have to be sick in order to be okay. And so here's what I want to share with you. This comment by Helen. A very interesting talk, but I wish they had talked more about safety, because here it comes. Are you ready for this? For me, it often doesn't feel safe to be authentic. It often doesn't feel safe to be authentic. So we can talk about living authentically. We can talk about finding our authentic selves all day long. But if it doesn't feel safe to be authentic, what is your body going to do? What is your body going to do if it doesn't feel safe to be authentic and you're trying to be more authentic? It is going to make you sick. This is when you experience a flare-up in your symptoms of autoimmunity. This is when you wake up and your joints are swollen and achy, and you're like, oh, what did I do? And if you are insightful and aware, you are going to realize, oh, that's right. I tried to be my authentic self yesterday. I tried to be my authentic self yesterday, and this is my body's response. No, no, you're not. That is not safe. That is not safe. And I must protect you. And to protect you, I'm going to bring up these symptoms again so that you won't have the energy to be your authentic self. We must stay hidden. We must hide those parts of us that other people might not like. Being able to express boundaries? No, 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 no. That would not be safe. People won't like you if you have boundaries. So instead, I'm going to just trigger some autoimmune symptoms. That rash will come back. The fatigue will come back. The neurological symptoms will come back. The brain fog will come. Let's bring it all. Let's bring it all because we really want to keep her from being her authentic self. Does this resonate with anyone? Has this been anyone's experience other than mine? Or am I all alone in this? There is a tension between safety and authenticity. How do I know that? Because that's what autoimmunity is. That is the essence of autoimmunity. It does not feel safe to be me because I am the problem. There is something inherently defective about me. So why would I be my authentic defective self? That's a sure recipe for disaster. It's a sure recipe for abandonment, for rejection, for more pain. No, no, that's not safe. That is not safe to show my authentic self that is defective and broken. It's better to fake it. Maybe the person who created that motto of fake it until you make it had autoimmune disease. What do you think? Fake it until you make it. Is that not the essence of what people with autoimmunity do? We fake it because it doesn't feel safe to be authentic. So I'm so glad that Helen brought up this aspect of the authenticity and the tension between that and safety. And that is why this is not an overnight fix. Reversing autoimmunity is so much more than eating the right diet and taking the right supplements and exercising just the right amount. It's so much deeper than that. Can you see that reversing autoimmunity is deeper than just the medical approach? We have to get to this root of it hasn't felt safe to be me. It hasn't felt safe to be in my body. It hasn't felt safe to even open up and see all of this pain that my body is packing. I'd much rather pack it into the suitcase and into the closet or whatever other analogy that you want to make in order for me not to feel it, not to see it, not to deal with it. And so when people ask me how I am, I give my answer, oh, I'm fine. And I think we all know what fine really means. There's this idea of fine meaning I'm falling apart inside, but I've got a nice exterior. There's other terms for that, I understand, and those who've been in 12-step meetings have a different interpretation of fine. But fine means that. Fine means F-I. I'm falling apart. I'm falling apart inside. And the N-E, but I've got a nice exterior. Because that's what I want you to see. I'm falling apart inside, but I've got a nice exterior. And this is what we do because this is what we think is expected of us. We think that people expect us to have the nice exterior and to keep it all inside. So we're going to bring it all home for you to say, so this is what the healing journey is. This is how we come back to this idea of how do I create that safety? because I can tell that I don't feel safe. And so how do I actually create that safety? And what I want to emphasize for you is that this safety is going to be an integration of the pieces. Feeling safe is not just going to be saying a mantra. Feeling safe is not just going to be telling yourself that you feel safe. Even though the mind will be an important piece in this healing journey, when was the last time that telling yourself to calm down actually helped yourself calm down? Or someone else. You have a friend, you have a child, they're freaking out, and you go up to them and you're like, "What's the problem? You should calm down." And it actually worked and they calmed down. So we are not going to do that. We are smarter. We understand that this needs to reach to the nervous system level that's receiving all of these dangers of signal all around us. It needs to reach that level so that the signals of safety are stronger, are louder than the signals of danger. So we will need a feeling of safety, but it's more than just a thought. It's more than just a word. It's more than just a mantra. It's actually creating that safety on all the levels. So we will have 3 levels that we need to repair. Now, these are the 3 levels that I go into in depth in my book, because this is the healing journey, not just for autoimmunity, but for any stored trauma in the body. Trauma's impact on the mind, on the body, and on our biology means that we have all 3 levels to repair. Whatever trauma has impacted is what needs to be repaired. The healing journey is simply about repairing what has been broken. Think about that. We just repair everything that's been broken. And in what aspect do we feel broken? Well, our thoughts are broken. In what way? Oh, how many times today have you criticized yourself? How many times just today have you heard the words coming out of your mouth? Oh, I'm so stupid. We can say it in joking, but our body doesn't think that it's a joke. And so our thoughts, how we talk to ourselves, has been broken, and we need to repair that. But that will not be enough. And so you can put all of the cards and the mantras and the sticky notes around your house that says, be nice to yourself. Say words of love to yourself, but it won't do anything if you're neglecting the other 2 levels. The other 2 levels being the body. The body has this memory of times that we didn't speak up for ourselves, the times that we let other people hurt us and didn't put up boundaries. It has these memories and they've become our default. We need to rewire our nervous system at that somatic tissue level so that we have a new muscle memory that says, when problems arrive in my life, I take action. I don't sit and get paralyzed in the analysis paralysis that can be so common in those with autoimmunity. But there will be one more level. We've talked about it a lot. This was my explanation of the oxidative stress. And who remembers one of the 3 aspects that I talked about that oxidative stress disrupts and causes health issues? The oxidative stress is going to impact our microglia, those immune cells in our brain that cause the brain fog and the decision fatigue. We talked about the mitochondria that's going to cause the fatigue. And we talked about the protein and DNA damage, which is going to be actually what triggers the epigenetic conditions. Autoimmunity being one of them. And then it perpetuates that. And so we saw that how this became a feedback cycle where these now become our signals of danger to create and perpetuate our nervous system dysregulation. So let me share the levels one more time, because we have the mind level, we have the body level and we have the biology level. 3 levels that have been broken, 3 levels that need repair. This has been one of the most important things that I've learned over the years is these are the levels that need to be repaired. Before, I had only focused on my mind level. And so when I discovered autoimmunity, the first thing I did was, yes, decide to do my own trauma work. And I called a therapist to start my therapy. I was focused on the mind level. I didn't even know how to integrate or that I needed to integrate these pieces and look at these levels. So I'm curious, as you're looking at these levels, what level do you feel is most holding you back right now? Or if you're a practitioner, what level do you see is holding your clients back the most right now? Does it seem to be mind? Does it seem to be body and the somatic work? Does it seem to be biology? This is where we get to personalize the healing journey because everyone has a block at a given time. And sometimes that block seems more biological. Sometimes that block seems more somatic and just the whole disconnection from their body. And sometimes the block seems to be the parts, these beliefs that we have about ourselves that have turned into self-talk and the self-criticism. So much of the body work for autoimmunity starts with just being willing to connect with the body. Now, to answer Laura's question directly, when you're feeling in those moments that you're recognizing that your autoimmune symptoms are flaring up or have flared up in response to trying to be your authentic self, trying to share your authentic truth, this is how you know that your body says that does not yet feel safe. Your nervous system, your neuroception concepts that I talk about in my book, on other podcast episodes, those are still screaming and yelling. That feels so dangerous to do. We're overwhelmed by it. Autoimmune symptoms flaring is a sign of an overwhelm in our biology, not just stress. A helpful place to start is by learning to create that inner safety separate from our attempts to be in relationships that require that authenticity or even to do our trauma work. We've got to create that inner safety of just our everyday life. And then we can start to apply safety to these other aspects that have been harder for us. But we start small. Otherwise, we won't be able to do it. So we start small, daily somatic practices that create an immediate felt sense of safety. So that right here, right now, not while I'm trying to do trauma work, not while I'm trying to process my childhood, not while I'm trying to interact with this mother of mine that drives me crazy, right here, right now, I'm safe enough. This is why I created the foundational journey, is to guide people through these exercises, 21 somatic exercises and then parts work, because this is the work that we need to do of right here, right now, before we do the deeper work. Because as we look at even the necessity for bringing in parts work, we need to shift that self-talk, catch those automatic criticisms and replace them with something neutral or perhaps even kind at some point. So rather than saying, I hate myself, being able to say, I just did something that I'm not proud of. I did something. It's not that I am a failure. It's not that I am a mistake. I made a mistake. Very different. And our body listens to what we say. If you'd like more guidance, more resources, I will have lots of links in the show notes, including a link to my book that you can order, The Biology of Trauma. I will have that link to the foundational journey if you're ready to do that 6-week process with me, learning the essential sequence, how to actually build that sense of safety, build that inner regulation to be ready for the deeper work. And I will also include the links to some related podcast episodes, including episode 55, which was on autoimmunity and trauma and chronic conditions, and episode 71, which was on understanding the trauma connection between attachment, autoimmunity, and fatigue. With that, thank you for joining me. I am here to help save you time and money by bringing you practical information that will help you accelerate the healing journey. So please take a moment to subscribe or leave a review if you've already subscribed. Your feedback is how I know to improve this podcast, make it better, and help others find this content that can change their life as well. I'm your host, Dr. Aimie. Until next episode, lots of love.